Welcome to Shellcast, the podcast that's a beach break for your ears. Listen along as we discover the best of Southwest Florida. We're located here in Lee County, Florida, about 2 hours south of Tampa. I'm your host, Jackie Parker, and I work for the Lee County Visitor and Convention Bureau. And today my guests are John Lai, the president and CEO of the Sanibel Captiva Chamber of Commerce, and Sanibel Mayor Holly Smith. In this episode, we're going to talk about the recovery that's taking place in Lee County, particularly with the Sanibel Causeway. And we're talking about the recovery post Hurricane Ian. And today we're doing this podcast on October 20th. So yesterday there was some really fantastic news with the reopening of the Sanibel Causeway. And Mayor Smith, thank you so much for being on the podcast. And could you just talk to us about what it was like when you saw what happened to the causeway?
Well, first of all, thanks a lot for having me on here, Jackie. It's always great to be able to talk to you and talk about our island. Different conversations now, for sure. Let me just go back to when I first found out the causeway was breached, because it was the day after the storm, and probably at about 4:30 in the morning, we were at the Crown Plaza, and someone came up to me and showed me this grainy photograph of a breach in the causeway. And I looked at it and I said to the person, "I'm sorry, I can't verify that." And never even thought that it was real, when I first saw that. And then a few minutes later, my cousin sent me a video stream when it became light of the causeway. And I took it up to our city manager, Dana Souza. We watched it together and realized it was true. So starting from there and realizing that causeway was breached was incredibly significant for all of us. And then, fast forward 2 weeks ago, the governor came over, Governor DeSantis, and he and I, with some of his staff, did a tour of the island, just going through to look at really the devastation that took place. And his first priority was saying, we need to get that causeway fixed. And a few short days later, the day after that, they went into action. They were working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, rebuilding a bridge, our lifeline to the mainland. And they did a short fix to it, and it was able to allow the power trucks to go over, hundreds of them. And then, for the following this past week, they were working on the more, I'm going to say, semi-permanent. And then yesterday was just a great day in the history of our island as we connected again to our mainland with our lifeline. And it's really going to allow a lot more flow to the island and from the island in this recovery that we are tasked with.
And what this meant was that residents can now go across the Causeway Bridge.
That's correct. So we are, there are different passes that are allowed. There are resident passes. There are commercial passes as well. And, many of the residents were not able to get here by boat. We did open up our borders to make sure people could get boating access here to get over and take a look at their homes. We called it kind of a look and leave, to assess the damage, see what needed to be done, start some of the demolitions of the lower, the areas in their homes to try to save those homes and the businesses as well. So now with this, the causeway being opened up to traffic, it's allowing everyone with a pass or their Sanibel driver's license to be able to get over here for a period of day. We do still have a curfew at night, so we can all assess and understand what rebuilding the city is going to mean.
Mm-hmm. John, what was it like for you to go across the Causeway Bridge for the first time again?
I'll tell you, Jackie, it was almost like just a breath of fresh air because, for so long we had been, it seemed like forever. It had only been 3 weeks, but we had been getting to the island and from the island by boat and watching all of the work that was being done, as Holly had mentioned earlier. And to finally see the fruit of that labor was, like I said, just a breath of fresh air and really just a relief for us and knowing our business community was now going to be able to get back over there, tend to their homes, tend to their places of business, and start this road back, this long road back to recovery.
Mm-hmm. And just for context, when Hurricane Ian came through in September 28th, the causeway got demolished in 3 places. It was a Category 4 hurricane, and 12-foot storm surges. The thought of that causeway being gone and that it was going to take so long, and yet it only took 3 weeks is just, it really is incredible. But the thing that that we also wanted to go over is that while the Causeway Bridge is open to residents, for our listeners, that doesn't necessarily mean that visitors can go across the bridge. And could both of you sort of speak to that a little bit, please?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And I just want to add on to what John said as a breath of fresh air. I think it was also a real beacon of hope. Because I remember a conversation a couple years ago saying, hey, if the bridge is gone, then really what do we have to go back to? And I can tell you, with that bridge being fixed, we all know, what our opportunity is going to be. So I think it was really inspirational for all of us to have that piece so quickly done, and for us to know, what can come next. But in answer to your question regarding the visitors, I'm going to be very honest, and I have been with the residents, everyone, every time I have an opportunity. We are a very different Sanibel right now. We are not the Sanibel that you remember. We will be again, and I know that, and I know everybody listening, how much people around the world love our island, and they are a piece of our island. And I think for that reason, I just got chills when I said that, because I know how much people want to get back and help and see and be a part of this island that they love so much. But now is not the time. Now is the time for us to continue. We don't have water. We don't have sewer. Our beaches are severely impaired right now with the impact of the storm, all from East Gulf to Middle Gulf to West Gulf. There is going to be a lot of rebirth, a lot of reconstruction that is going to take time. So we just need to caution everyone, as much as they want to be here, there's so much work that we need to do on this end before we can welcome everyone back. And we look forward to that, but the time is undetermined and yet to come.
We all know that causeway is what connects the only point of entry for Sanibel to our mainland, and vice versa. And so she's absolutely right when she says it really stood for the shot in the arm that we all needed, the motivation that we needed to get through that day. But, more than anything, as she mentioned, we refer to the lighthouse, and I also refer to the causeway as just a beacon of hope for our community. Going back to that question regarding our visitors right now, I mean, we've had over 3 million people cross that causeway in the years prior, and so it's going to feel very, very different this coming year. But I will echo exactly what Mayor Smith has said, in that we are right now a very different island than the tourism destination that people know and love when they think of Sanibel and Captiva Islands. And it's going to take a period of time for us to assess the damage, to repair the damage, and rebuild what's needed to fully entertain visitors again. I'd like to say I have a timeline, but I don't. And so I would ask that yes, absolutely, that people keep us in their thoughts and continue to support us in any way that they can. And we want them to come back. We just don't know when just yet.
Right. And the causeway reopening was such a significant milestone, but it is part of a process, part of a long-term process.
It was that much needed first step, Jackie, that we all needed to see tangibly, so that we could take the next step forward. And I think that so many of us were paralyzed when we saw that. I think it was 5 breaches, if I'm right, correct me. If I'm wrong, correct me, Mayor. 5 breaches in the causeway, and in my head, I couldn't wrap my arms around that being repaired in less than 12 months. So for us to get that causeway back in less than 30 days, reminds us that things are possible. We can do this, and we will do this. And maybe the 3-year timeline or 2-year timeline or 1-year timeline that some of us had in mind might be 6 months or 9 months, but maybe it is actually a year or a year and a half. But once we get on island, once we understand, like I said before, the scope of the work that needs to be done and the time frame that we'll need to do it, we'll be able to get to communicate with our visitors that we love so dearly, just exactly when we believe we'll be ready for them to come back, because we can't wait.
And Jackie, if I may,
yes.
One thing that people come for is the type of community we are. They look at that, we're a little small-town America. We are this jewel around the world that people look for. We've got our 4th of July parade, our Easter hunt, when we're having our Christmas time. I mean, everyone loves to come for that. Understand that we've got to rebuild our community first. Everyone is displaced here. It really, it's right at this point, it's almost not habitable right now, but people are going to be making decisions on how they want to come back, how they want to live. Of course, when power comes on, that's going to be great. But we need to rebuild our community and get our people back and our businesses back so we can welcome our visitor base that loves to come here all year round. So I think that's really important to gently understand.
And Mayor, the Sanibel plan really gives you that guidance, doesn't it?
It does, and it's funny you should mention that, because I'm at my home right now. My home had considerable damage, so I've been working on it today. And my Sanibel plan was in my yard, and it is drying on my front porch. And 48 years ago, we took bold steps. Porter Goff, one of our founding fathers, made the decision with a very strong and determined group of people to say what this island was going to be. And we have held true to that mission. And I can tell you, as mayor, that is the most important thing that I want to move forward with as well, is people understanding that continues to be our mission. Our conservation land, living with harmony of nature, with humans, is what we are and what we shall remain. And that is part of our vision statement. We shall remain a sanctuary island. And it's that Sanibel plan. It's funny that you mentioned that, because the book is right there on my steps, and it made it. And the Sanibel plan will make it.
What can people who want to come here, what can they do to help from their homes, from the Midwest, from the East Coast, from all around the world? What can they do to help our area right now?
Well, I think everyone is looking and waiting and saying, we want to help when we can. And I think there are different areas that you can give. I think you need to be very careful where you're giving and what you're giving for. So many, I'm telling you, I got sent like a check with $5 for the city, and I thought that was so sweet and touching, because I know how much that meant for that one individual. And there are other areas. Our hospitality industry has been severely crippled. John, you want to talk to that?
Absolutely. I mean, we have roughly 500 members of the Chamber of Commerce, and 96% of that of our membership is made up of either lodging, restaurants, retail, or attractions. And right now, they are completely out of work. And so, when we talk about an industry that's been severely crippled by Hurricane Irma, by COVID, and now this, it is something that I believe a lot of people are looking to make contributions to. We would recommend that you go to our website as well, the Sanibel-Captiva.org website, and you can go through. There are a couple different Donate Now links, and they are all going back to help the hospitality industry recover.
Thank you, John. And it's the Southwest Florida Relief Fund is helping local hospitality workers. And we were talking earlier, John, about offline about the unique shops and stores that make Sanibel so special. And there's a way that people can help. They can shop online. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So once again, if they go to our sanibel-captiva.org website and go to Shop Now, there is a Shop Small page that takes you directly to several e-commerce sites that have been recently set up, and that page will continue to grow as our individual store owners get their e-commerce pages set up. They're very unique, as you mentioned, Jackie. Part of the Sanibel plan is that it lends itself to boutique stores, to individual type restaurants and hotels, and places that you won't find anywhere else by design. So, we understand that our visitors love that component of their stay on Sanibel and Captiva Islands. A couple other things that they can do that don't cost any money. One of them is we're asking everyone who's visited a store or a retail outlet or an attraction on Sanibel and Captiva Islands to go on to Yelp and Google and TripAdvisor and leave those glowing reviews that they had been meaning to leave in the past visits, because that means so much to those people who need motivation right now to get them through today so that they can rebuild for tomorrow. It'll also help them when they reopen their doors and they've got new Google ratings that they can open up to with some really positive comments. I think that is, that can't be understated either. In a community like Sanibel and Captiva Islands, where you're looking at stores and restaurants that you're not familiar with, maybe you're looking for the greatest cheesesteak, or you're looking for a great fish fry. Those reviews mean everything, and we know that. Our visitor center answers hundreds of thousands of questions, and people bring in their Yelp reviews and say, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And so we see it firsthand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also, our nonprofit, CHR, which is our Community Housing and Resources, which is a workforce for low-income workforce, Fish, the Historical. We have so many nonprofits on the island, and their needs are going to be great. I mean, the housing, we really rank so highly in our Sanibel plan and in our charter. Affordable housing is something that we were built upon, and there's going to be a lot of needs that way to get those rebuilt, and it's going to take a lot of dollars. So if there's something on the island that they loved before to give to, they can still do that.
Definitely, whatever your favorite place to visit, whether it's Crow or the Sea School or the Shell Museum. I mean, gosh, the list goes on and on. There's so many worthy causes right now, right?
There are, and I wouldn't limit it to, when I named a few, that's just not the only endorsement. I would just say, look, everyone knows what they love to give to. And the needs are going to be great all throughout our island for all of those nonprofits. So everybody, again, you find your heart, you give to that, whether it's to Crow, Fish, Sting, SCCF, the Shell Museum. You'll find your way, and that would be greatly appreciated because, again, they are going to be struggling for a while because our doors just will not be open yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this is a way that visitors at home can help the island take the next step in recovery. And its progress is seen in many ways. And the opening of the causeway again was such a thrill to see, and such a it was just amazing. It was just amazing to see it happen. And you were there with both of you were there with the group, and just that vibe, that positive energy, the hope.
Oh, it was like we drove across. I mean, I will never look at it the same again driving across that causeway. You know how everybody calls it the happy lane, right? I'm going to come and I'm in the happy lane and I'm coming across, and we look and we get on the peak and we look out and see the beauty. Yesterday it was just a different happy lane for me. It was the start of almost a rebirth, mm-hmm. and it was so empowering. And I videoed, the governor came here and he spoke and got in the car and just drove over. I videoed the whole way, and it was really inspirational. Really inspirational. And I think every little step will be. So that was a huge step. And then you get over, and some of these businesses, they're out there cooking hot dogs and hamburgers on a grill and giving away things for free to the workers with a smile. And everyone is so appreciative of the jobs that everyone's doing here to help put us back together. And the people that, aside from the Causeway, the work that's been going on this island for the past 3 weeks is just miraculous. So it's almost a military operation. Mm-hmm. That's what we've been calling it. Mm-hmm. It is so, I've heard two things. I've heard this is the biggest disaster any of these individuals who do disasters all over the country, all over the world, has seen in their history. And then secondly, it is the most organized response that they have seen. And so when we look at the Causeway being done, it's like, wow, maybe those next steps are going to be a little bit shorter. We don't know what that timeline is, but I can tell you, as John said earlier, we thought it was going to be months. We were going to be barging everything. We're still barging, but it turned out to weeks. So with that sort of giddy up and go, I'm optimistic that maybe the timeline is going to be shorter. And the determination and grit is a lot stronger. And the optimism is there as well.
Yes, the hope and optimism is, it's palpable. It's just amazing. I want to tell our listeners just a little bit of history. The original Sanibel Causeway and drawbridge was open to traffic in 1963, and that replaced a ferry boat that had been run from Punta Rasa to Sanibel since about 1912. And then in 1991, the original bridges, they showed some signs of deterioration, and Lee County made some major repairs. And major repairs were made again in 1997, and major repairs were completed yesterday on October 19th. And that, unless either one of you have anything that you'd like to add, or
I'll just, I'll just say, stick with us, watch what we're going to become, because we know what we are, what we've always been, and what we will be. We're Sanibelians. Sanibel's our home. And for so many, Sanibel is their home away from home. And we look forward to what we are going to become, and we're going to do it together.
I'd also like to take this time, Jackie, just to thank everyone that's been instrumental in just helping our community rebuild and get to where we are right now. We've seen collaboration on the local, city, and state level like we've never seen before. And we don't get anywhere single-handedly. And Holly and I always talk about that, just how much better we are when we operate together with different levels of government. And it's rare that you see it working in concert like it is right now. We have got an amazing volunteer city council that has literally done everything that they can to make this a smooth transition in a very unsettling time for both their residents and their business owners. And so I would like to just recognize them and tell them all just a great big thank you from the business community and the residential community as well. We appreciate what they've done. And these things like the Sanibel Causeway reopening the first time, where it let on 300 or so utility trucks. The two things we had been telling everyone that would listen that we needed to get our island rebuilt initially was accessibility and utilities. And in 1 month, we've gotten both, one completed, one almost there. And so, this doesn't happen, like I said, on our own. And so really want to thank you at the VCB, Jackie, for giving us the opportunity today to talk a little bit about what this means to us. And we are absolutely resolved to rebuild.
Jackie, thank you so much. And John, what you just said was important. Building bridges, Dana Souza, our new city manager, new first year on the job, said, we're building bridges, not only building a bridge, but building bridges to relationships. And that has shown so solidly through this process. So thank you, John, for bringing that up, because no one does this alone. And we really, again, thank you, Jackie, for having us. We look forward to talking to you the next time, where we've got more to tell, more good news. But stick with us. We'll be back.
We can't wait to talk to you again about the next steps in the recovery here in Lee County. And again, we want to remind listeners to check out the Sanibel Captiva Chamber of Commerce's website for information, and that's sanibel-captiva.org. And also, please visit our website, visitfortmyers.com, for a complete and constantly updated list of openings of attractions and accommodations that are available in Lee County. And with that, we're going to close out this episode. Shellcast, the podcast of Fort Myers, Islands, Beaches, and Neighborhoods, is produced by the Lee County Visitor and Convention Bureau here in Fort Myers, Florida. Shellcast is available wherever you download your favorite podcasts. And you can also follow us along on Instagram, too. My name is Jackie Parker. Thank you for listening.
Shellcast.